Welcome on into a new edition of the Scots Sports Show. I am your host, Tyler Trumbauer. The football team was in action this past weekend, so once again, we will start this week's show talking Edinburgh football. To break down last week's contest and preview Saturday's home contest, I'd like to welcome on in Mike Fenner, the sports director of WFSC, the Fighting Scots Radio Network, and also head Edinburgh football coach Scott Browning. Guys, are we great this week?
Excellent.
Very good.
Oh, excellent, very good. All right, we got some variation finally. Coach, Saturday, it was cold. Slippery Rock, 29-7 defeat. Freshman quarterback Jake Sisson gets his first start as Cody Harris was sidelined with injury. But despite the 29-7 score, your team was really in this one in the second half. What were your takeaways from the game?
Well, I think that the score is not an indicator of how close the game really was. It got lopsided at the end like a lot of football games do. But I felt that our guys competed, and we went in at halftime down. We came back out second half, and I thought we had an excellent plan coming into the second half. Here again, we just came up short. They made a few more plays than we did, and the game got out of hand right at the end and ended up 29-7.
It turned out that Cody Harris wasn't able to go. He was suited up for the game, but Jake Sisson got the start. What is going to be the quarterback situation for this week? Will Sisson get a start again, or will Cody be returning?
Right now we're not 100% sure that, an emergency situation last week, Cody could have played. And, we feel like he's going to be available this week. He's getting healthier. He needed just some time to rest. He's beat up a little bit. So far things are on course. We expect Cody to be part of the offense this coming Saturday against Seton Hill.
Coach, what did you make of Jake's first career start at quarterback? Obviously a young guy, true freshman. What are some of the takeaways you had from his performance?
I thought that Jake really handled the situation well. I thought that the players really rallied around Jake. He's a very calm kid, handled the situation extremely well. Slippery Rock, they're one of the top teams in the league. And to have your first start on the road in the cold against Slippery Rock, I thought Jake did an exceptional job.
With having a lot of young players on that offense already, did it make it more comfortable for him to make that transition and to kind of take command of the offense?
It may. Jake's very close with a lot of the kids. For instance, he and Colby Hughes grew up knowing one another. And, our players think very highly of Jake. He's had really a good season, although he's not played a lot of football for us. But our players have a good feeling about Jake and his future. And, I think they have all the confidence in the world in Jake. And Jake has the confidence in them. And I think he's going to be a heck of a football player for us.
Now, Mike, you talked about those young players with Sisson. Now, one of those younger players is Darren Masey at wide receiver, and he had a great day connecting with Sisson. 6 catches, nearly 200 yards, and a big 76-yard catch and run for the lone score of the game. And as well, he surpassed the single-season receptions mark and set a new record for Edinburgh football. Is that kind of interesting to see Darren Masey, Sisson connect? Because that's going to be the future of Edinburgh football.
It is going to be the future. Darren has 2 years after this year. Colby Hughes, just to mention a couple guys, has 3 years after this year. Marcus Hill has 3 years after this year. Our running back, Anthony Williams, has 3 years after this year. We're a very young football team, and those guys are going to play a lot of football with Jake, and I think they're excited about the future.
Masey in particular, getting 68 receptions already on the year. He's a defending PSAC West Freshman of the Year, and then just building off that this year. I talked to him in an interview we'll get to later. He said he wants to get to 1,000 yards receiving this year as well. What are your thoughts on his production on the field this season?
I think he's been extremely productive. He's come up with some really clutch catches for us, and catches that I've not seen made around here in a long time. And he's an exceptional receiver. He has very good eye-hand coordination, very good body control. Darren Masey's a competitor, and I just think that anyone that plays on the same side of the football with him on a given Saturday, they're better football players because of his presence.
This Saturday, let's see if the Fighting Scots are able to improve with Darren Masey on their side as they're home for the last 2 contests. This one, Seton Hill, that's a noon kickoff at Sox Harrison Stadium. Scouting the Griffins this week, Coach, what are your initial thoughts of that team?
Well, first of all, you've got to look at their offense. Last week against Mercyhurst, they threw the football 72 times. The previous week they threw the football 58 times. And, what you'd like to think going in, hopefully the quarterback does not have a hot hand. If he has a hot hand, it's going to be a shootout. And offensively, Darren Masey and crew better plan on putting a lot of points on the scoreboard.
And, Coach, with that, how do you get your young secondary ready for a team like that? Obviously, they threw 77 passes against Cal.
I think when you play in the secondary, especially against a team that's going to throw the ball 72 times, they're going to get their fair share of catches. And you're probably going to have a play or two that things aren't going to go your way. And I think you better have a short memory, and you better forget about the previous play and build on the next play. And it's going to be a great challenge for them, but I think our guys will step up.
How interesting is the matchup? You guys have Darren Masey at wide receiver. They have F.J. Williams at wide receiver, two of the top 3 playmakers out wide in the league. How interesting, how fun of a matchup is that for those two guys to go against each other?
It should be a great game for the fans to watch. It should be exciting. It's not going to be a 3-0 football game, I can assure you. I just hope at the end of the day we score more points than Seton Hill, whether it is 3 or 7 or if it's 53 or 57.
Looking back at last year's contest, a 43-7 home win, is it fair to say that this team has a lot different makeup from last year, obviously with a lot of offensive prowess?
I think Seton Hill's a much different football team. They've got the 2012 West Virginia Conference Player of the Year at quarterback. They play 2 other quarterbacks. They're extremely talented on the perimeter. Defensively, I think they're giving up some points, but I think they're much better than they were last year. This is not going to be a 43-7 football game. They're a much better football team than they were a year ago.
Mike can rally off the stats about the offense, and you touched on their offensive firepower as well and their plethora of attempts as well offensively. But do you feel this game might come down to just one key defensive stop at the end of the game? If you make that stop or if they make that stop, it's just going to be a 1-touchdown margin?
Absolutely. It could come down to who has the football last. And hopefully we have the football, and hopefully we have more points on the scoreboard than they do.
Hopefully that's how it all turns out at Sox Harrison Stadium on Saturday. Coach, good luck, and thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. And we're going to take a break. On the other side, we are going to hear from redshirt sophomore wide receiver Darren Masey. Earlier this week, I caught up with wide receiver Darren Masey to talk a little bit about his season this year for the team and rewriting the history book. Darren, a tough one last week, 29-7 in the cold at Slippery Rock, but without Cody Harris, the offense was still moving a little bit. It just wasn't connecting. The defense was making stops. The offense couldn't put too much together. What was your take on the loss on Saturday?
I mean, it was hard, you know what I mean? We wanted to go in there and get a win for the seniors. That's all we've been talking about, is getting a win for the seniors and everything. So, I mean, we had a few players step up. We need to just stop sitting around and expecting other players to make plays and just make plays ourselves as individuals.
How was that transitioning from having Harris be the guy that's passing you the ball to now Sisson? Is that much of a change for you as a receiver, or no, not at all?
I mean, in practice he gets reps as well. I mean, you wouldn't even tell who's a first starting quarterback going into practice. They both share reps and whatnot. Sisson knows the program just as much as Cody. I mean, he's a great kid. I mean, he could be just as good or better than Cody. I mean, it's all about how he wants to take it into his own hands.
Now coming up, we got 2 home games left. This one upcoming is against Seton Hill. What is this team's mindset? They're in last place in the Western Division. Seton Hill, who normally holds that last place position, is now just right above you with 2 wins this season. So what's kind of the team's mindset coming into these last 2 home games of the 2014 season?
I mean, we got to show the piece like that we're actually a collective as a team. I mean, we're trying to be positive and gain composure at the end of the season and be able to start clicking. I mean, our defense is starting to click. I mean, we're building a base right now. I mean, we didn't do too well this year, but I mean, you got to grab positive out of it somewhere, you know what I mean?
More specifically, looking at this Saturday's noon kickoff with the Griffins of Seton Hill, what is kind of the offensive mindset? Obviously for yourself, you're just going to try to go out there, run as far as you can, catch the ball, and go there. But there's more to it than what the people in the bleachers will see. So what's the mindset offensively this week?
Right now we just need to execute. I mean, they're a 5-down team. We installed a few packages for that. I mean, there's chances on the board we got to take advantage of. So right now, I mean, we need to click on offense, get the ball moving, and we'll be good.
I'd like to thank Darren for taking the time to talk to me. Let's welcome back in Mike Fenner to break down Edinburgh's matchup with the Seton Hill Griffins. Mike, this Seton Hill squad has been a doormat in the PSAC of late, but it has 2 wins on its ledger this season, which is 1 more than our Edinboro Fighting Scots have. Do you feel this matchup is a little bit more interesting than maybe people originally planned it to be when the schedules were released in the preseason?
I think that's fair to say. These two teams are very evenly matched in a lot of different categories, and it starts with running the football. Seton Hill comes in averaging 2.5 yards per carry, Edinboro 2.4. That ranks 15th and 16th in the PSAC, both with 8 rushing touchdowns and under 77 rushing yards per game. So in terms of running the football, these two teams aren't going to look to do it a lot. They're going to try and throw the ball, and it should be a fun game to watch.
It should be, and with both teams having offensive firepower, the Seton Hill Griffins with a lot of passing attempts, number 1. But number 2, the Edinboro Fighting Scots can retaliate with some of their own, as there have been a few Edinboro individuals that have really stood out offensively and put up some really nice numbers offensively this season, Mike.
I think at wide receiver there's a lot of impact with the young guys. Darren Masey, we talked about him plenty. You talked to him in your interview.
Very true.
Had a 76-yard touchdown catch at Slippery Rock. That was obviously the biggest play of the day, the lone score on the day, and I thought that was very fitting that was his 65th reception of the year to break the single-season school record for catches in a season. He's had some help between Colby Hughes and Ben Eisel, the senior and the true freshman, respectively, at wide receiver. Those two guys have nearly matched his totals combined. And then a couple of defensive guys that have stood out in recent games, Jim Wilson and Tommy Dover on the defensive line. These two guys have really created a lot of pressure against the run and sacking the quarterback, and they've really come on and helped this front four, as we've seen a lot of guys like Dominic Principali and other guys at the linebacking spots be sort of stars on this defense. They've really come into their own on the defensive line.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned Jim Wilson with the 3 block kicks. It seems like anytime Edinboro blocks a field goal or an extra point, it's a safe bet that Wilson's the one that gets his paw up there to take care of it. I don't know how he does it, but
yeah, you never have to guess.
You never really do. It's almost always Wilson there. So, Mike, let's dive in a little bit more to the Seton Hill Griffins. What should we expect when they visit Sox Harrison Stadium this Saturday? Let's scout that team a little bit.
It all starts with F.J. Williams at wide receiver. 66 receptions. This guy's got 909 receiving yards for Seton Hill. There are only 2 players in the entire conference that stand over 800 receiving yards. Darren Masey comes in 3rd in that category. But with F.J. Williams, 7 touchdown catches as well. He's a dangerous wide receiver, and this young secondary will have their hands full. Coach Browning did not shy away from it, talked directly about how it's going to be a big-time challenge to stop him. And this team will simply throw the football and air it out. Drew Jackson, a quarterback, among the top passers in this conference, and they love to throw the football. He has the most completions and attempts in the entire league, but 9 interceptions thrown. One of the top intercepted teams in this conference, actually 15 as a team on the year. So they are very turnover prone, but they're going to try and throw the football. And then defensively, Josh Filatovich, 70 tackles, 40 solos, both lead the team, a pair of interceptions. This defense, though, is very susceptible to giving up a lot of rushing yards. So this could be a big opportunity for freshman running back Anthony Williams to really have another solid outing. 3 100-yard rushing performances, could be 4 by the time Saturday's game is concluded.
You got to wonder whose arm hurts more, Drew Jackson's or Madison Bumgarner's. I'm not quite sure which one, whose is more sore right now at this juncture of the year. Mike, what are going to be the keys to success for the Edinboro Fighting Scots? Coach Browning talked about just got to be able to score as many points. If Seton Hill puts up 60, Fighting Scots got to score 61, and maybe it even might come down to a defensive stop. What do you feel is going to be the key to getting a W this Saturday?
Well, first of all, it's important that hopefully Cody Harris can be in the lineup at quarterback to have that experience, have that poise. He knows how to throw the football around, and they need to throw it around. You're right. They need to score points and put up a ton more than they have in recent weeks. 7 against Gannon, 10 against Mercyhurst, 7 again against SRU. This Seton Hill team has thrown the football 70-plus times in multiple games, including 77 attempts in just a 10-point loss against California. This team at Edinboro needs to be able to throw the football effectively downfield, and they need to put up their points because, like Coach Browning said, Seton Hill's a good team on offense. They're going to make their plays. You want to try and stop them as much as you can, but it needs to come up with scoring and keeping up with those points on Edinboro's side.
Yeah, thanks for the insight, Mike. And, it might just be a shootout on Saturday, so we'll have to see. So make sure you drink up some water and get ready to call all those points.
That's right.
On Saturday at Sox Harrison Stadium. As if you can't make it out to see the Seton Hill Griffins and the Edinboro Fighting Scots Saturday at noon. All the action can be seen live on ETV or heard on WFSC 88.9 with Ron Raymond and Mike Fenner on the call. The women's volleyball season is quickly coming to an end, but the Fighting Scots want to extend it just a bit longer. Next, I'll be joined by Katie Felix and Jen Gruber of Borough Volleyball to talk about what is in store for the team. The women's volleyball team has had a roller coaster of a season to date that includes many highs and lows. Through it all, the ladies have managed a 20-11 record overall and an 11-9 mark in the PSAC, with just 2 more matches left in the regular season. To touch on the volleyball season and what is to come in the last few matches, hopefully for these Fighting Scots, I'd like to welcome on in Jen Gruber and Katie Felix of the women's volleyball team here at Edinboro. Ladies, how are we?
Pretty good.
Great to hear. Now, Jen, let's start off with you. You lead the team in kills, which is a great feat to have, and you've done that for most of the season. How has it been to lead a team in such a big statistical category, and how do you manage to get all those kills? I mean, does being 6 foot help that?
It feels great to have accomplished that, but I think the fact that I tore my ACL last year mid-season, and just all the hard work I put in through rehab and through the summer, and it just really paid off, and it's nice to know that. And yeah, 6 foot does help, but I think the hard work ultimately helped.
One day you're just going to have to let me know how that feels to be up there. Katie, what have these last 10 to 14 days been like for the women's volleyball team? You ladies were so close to the playoffs. I mean, being in the 5th spot in the PSAC Western Division when the top 4 teams make it, and you had some big matches against teams that were ahead of you, but unfortunately just weren't able to secure the victory. So how frustrating was that for these last 2 weeks?
It's really tough. It's really tough as a team. We stuck together, though. We stuck together through it all. Our coaches haven't given up on us. Everything as of right now as a team, like, we're good. We're fine. It's frustrating the way we play against Gannon. If we would have played like that for the past 14 days, we would have been perfect. We would have been getting dubs, but I mean, we just have been coming up short. We just can't finish. And
it's got to be frustrating too that you ladies have had such an impressive record, as I mentioned, 20-11 overall, but more importantly for the PSACs, you were 11-9 in the conference, and that unfortunately has already eliminated you from PSAC contention. But if you were on the eastern side of the state, in the Eastern Division, you would have had a 1 or 2 game advantage and been leading the entire division. How frustrating is that to be unable to relocate Edinboro closer to Philly? Does that make you frustrated looking at the standings?
Yeah.
That's got to be tough. So, ladies, 2 more matches left. IUP, Clarion this week. Clarion leading the Western Division, so that's a very tough squad. Now, you still have a shot at the NCAA tournament, so obviously, other than wins, what do you want to get out of these last 2 matches of the regular season?
I think coming together as a team is going to be most important to win, especially for our seniors. Haley and Tabby only have 2 more matches left if we don't make bonus ball. So hopefully we can come out with wins for them. I'm just hoping to finish strong so that we can look forward to bonus ball.
Yeah, as I mentioned, you rank 7th right now in the initial NCAA Atlantic Regional rankings. Top 8 make it, aside from the 2 conference champions. Is that really going to be the goal now? Unfortunately, I know the goal was PSAC tournament before, but is that really what the main focus is of the girls now?
Yes. Yeah, pretty much.
So let's just see what happens in these last 2 matches, ladies, and good luck. And hopefully we can have some bonus ball and you can be back on here talking about that. Thanks, I appreciate it.
Thanks.
We're going to hit a commercial break, and on the other side, I'll highlight this week's Scots of the Week and take a look at the upcoming schedule of events. Stay tuned. Before we go, I'd like to congratulate Darren Masey of the football team and Megan Kelly of the women's soccer team for being named this week's Scots of the Week. Darren had an impressive 6 catches for 161 yards, including a 76-yard touchdown catch last week against Slippery Rock in the team's 29-7 loss. In the game, Darren broke Ryan Valasik's record for most receptions in a season of 64, as the McKees Rocks native now has 68 this season. Megan, who has had an illustrious career as the goalkeeper for the women's soccer team, was a big part of the team's 2 wins last week. She allowed 18th-ranked Kutztown just 1 goal in the Scots' 2-1 victory that clinched them a berth in the PSAC playoffs, and also shut out Notre Dame of Ohio in the regular season finale. Additionally, Kelly was named to the Capital One Academic All-America team for District 2 for the 2nd straight season. Congrats to both of them. Let's look at the upcoming schedule for Edinboro athletic events. Tonight, wrestling kicks off their dual meet season right here at Macomb Fieldhouse against the University of Pitt at 7 p.m. on Friday. Women's volleyball in their penultimate game of the regular season at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, as well as the wheelchair basketball team, kicks off their borough shootout this weekend. As we carry on into the weekend, there is a huge Schedule on Saturday, wheelchair basketball, cross country at the PSAC Championships, which we previewed last week, as well as the football game. Swimming has a meet with PSAC foe Bloomsburg. Women's volleyball's regular season finale and the Borough Shootout rounds it out on Sunday. Try to make it out to one of the events and cheer on the Fighting Scots. Thanks for watching, and go Borough.